Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on the IHI Call 11 on Towards Precision Medicines, Platform Frontwise Diagnostics, Stratification of Brain Dysfunction. My name is Nassima, and I'm going to be your moderator today. And before we start, I just want to share some information with you. If we move to the next slide. So firstly, we are recording this session and we will be publishing it on the IHI website. We will also publish the presentation slides. The call has been launched last week and all the links and details of how to apply have been published on the IHI website, and you could also find them on the Funding and Funders portal. Another important point, if you have any questions, please use the chat function on the right corner of your screen, and we will get them at the end of the presentation. Today, we have three presenters. So we have Elisabetta Bodano. She is Principal Scientific Manager at IHI and for this topic, and she's going to kick off with the presentation. We also have Thorsten Lokes and Hugh Marston from Boehringer Ingelheim. They are going to present the topic itself. And as you can see, we also have Carolina, who is our legal officer. So now I will hand over to Elisabetta. Elisabetta, you're muted. Sorry.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody, depending where you are in the world. And so what is, I'm just going to, first of all, to tell you what is going to be included and what is not going to be included in this webinar. So we will do a little introduction to the IHI program because we are a bit different, let's say, from normal collaborative project. It is very important that you understand our scope because that will impact also the project that we fund. Then there will be a presentation on the content of the IHI Code 11 Topic 1, presented by Thorsten and Hugh, which are the lead of the Pre-Identify Industry Consortium, which is the one that really was the head and the mind behind this topic. And then I will take again the word, and I will explain you a little bit about the proposal submission and evaluation, and give you a few tips for writing a successful proposal. Just to explain what will not be covered by this topic is the rule and procedure. We have a dedicated webinar for this, and therefore you should please consider important that you attend this webinar and that you ask your question over there, because even if we have Carolina, and of course she will be happy to answer any question here, there you will have a full team that will be at your disposal to ask all your questions on this aspect. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of a background, this is a topic that is launched by the Innovative Health Initiative, which is the EU partnership in health. And what is a partnership? It means that it's a joint undertaking on one side with the European Union that is represented by the European Commission, and on the other side the Healthcare Industry Association and the industry that are their members, which are four industries, which are the COSIR, that is the imaging, medical imaging, radiotherapy, health, ICT, electromedical industry, the FPA, including Vaccine Europe, that is the Association for the Pharmaceutical and Vaccine Industries, Europa Bio, Biotech Industry, and MedTech Europe, that is the Association for the Medical Technology Industry. And both, for example, the lead of this topic are from Boehringer Ingelheim, that is part of the FPA Association. So just to tell that we expect all the projects that are funded by IHI to contribute to the achievement of its generally objective, which are three very important ones. That is, of course, to try to turn health research and innovation into real benefit for patient and society. We have a lot of very important research in Europe, and we are very good at that, but we are not so good in moving this towards the patient, really to create something, some innovation that really impact the patient and society. The second important general objective is to deliver care, effective health innovation that cover the entire spectrum of care, from prevention to diagnosis and treatment, particularly in areas where there is an unmet public health need, which is indeed a big focus of the current topic. and really contributing to this. And then last but not least, and this is also very much important for this topic, is and reflected in the scope of this topic, is to make Europe health industry globally competitive. So, of course, all our projects are created via open and competitive call for proposals. And all the projects that are generated by the topic are cross-sectorial public-private partnership, which leverage on one side all the important contributions that are provided by the industry members of the different associations. Also, we have the opportunity, and this is the case for this topic, to have important relevant contribution from contributing partners. And on the other side, we have all those members of the consortium that are directly paid by public funding that is provided by the European Commission via Horizon Europe. And really, we have people from the two sides working hand in hand to on an agreed pathway towards important objective and results. And all our topics are also created considering, of course, our strategic research and innovation agenda, and our research is going to stay always on the focus of cross-sectorial approaches and also to lay foundation for development of safer and more effective healthcare products, but staying at the pre-competitive level. That means really to try to have all the stakeholders, also the one that may be in a normal life, let's say, they are in competition, to instead join forces and work together for the common goods. And now I will leave a moment the word to my colleague Carolina for these slides.
Thank you so much, Elisabetta. We would like to just give you a short overview of the eligibility for funding in Call 11, even though this webinar is topic focused. And as Elisabetta said, on Monday, my colleague Desmond will do a longer webinar on the rules and procedures applicable to Call 11. But just to give you a short overview of which legal entities are eligible for funding, this is Call 11 topic 1. So in this particular call topic, legal entities coming from the United Kingdom and from Canada are eligible to receive funding. Now, on the contrary, legal entities originating from Switzerland and South Korea, even though they are very welcome to participate in this call topic, they will not receive funding from IHI. This obviously doesn't mean that they are excluded completely from funding. They may reach out to their national governments and inquire whether they can receive any funds to participate in this call, but IHI cannot support this endeavor, meaning that we do not intervene in this process. But as I said, we would really like to invite you on Monday for the webinar that my colleague Desmond will host. Thank you. Back to you, Elisabetta.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And now we continue. And so just to explain, this is a two-stage call. What does it mean? It means that in all projects of IHI, as I say, there need to be contribution coming from the industry member and the contributing partner, and the fund, and then there is funding provided by European Union, and we always need a balance that needs to be at least 45, better 50% of the total cost of a project need to come from contribution, and the rest is paid directly by IHI as a financial contribution from the European Union. In the two-stage call, the contribution are already, let's say, saved and stay there ready because they've been already agreed in the topic text. That if you read it, there is a section about this. And so what will happen now is that we have a first stage where all of you are invited to submit short proposal where all different members that are needed to achieve the objective of the topic will gather together and prepare a short proposal that will be assessed by a panel of independent experts. This panel of independent experts will look at the topic text, the Bible, and on the basis of this, they will assess which is the best consortium, the best short proposal that has addressed in the optimal way the objective, the outcome, and the impact of the topic text. as they are written in the topic text. And there will be a ranking list, and the first one of this ranking list will be invited to join the pre-identified industry consortium led by Hugh and Torsten to prepare a full proposal. And after this, the full proposal that will have to be submitted and will have to be again evaluated by a panel of independent independent evaluator that will give their go/no-go decision on this full proposal. If everything goes okay, like we hope and normally happen, it is then the proposal will be approved by our governing board, and there will be the start of the granting phase, meaning the preparation of the contract, after which contract also including the signature of a consortium agreement between all the partners, and then the project will start its activity. So that's the process. And now I leave the most important part to Hugh and Torsten. And I don't know, shall I move the slides then for you?
Elisabeth, if you could move the slides, that'd be great as we progress through the talk. Okay. If I can just very briefly introduce myself, my name is Hugh Marston. I'm the Global Head of Neuroscience and Mental Health Research at Boehringer Ingelheim. And perhaps relevantly to the discussion and presentation today, I've had the pleasure of being involved in a number of IMI projects in the past, both building the concepts and delivering the projects. I'm really pleased and keen to push forward this idea that we've had great fun in the ideation phase now that we're in the call within call 11 of the IHI program. So if we can move to the first slide, Elisabetta. There we go. So let's start with what the challenge is. What's the conceptualization of what we're trying to do? Across the mental health space and slightly less extent in the neurological space, the current diagnoses and the way that we go about patient stratification is very much driven by the diagnostic criteria within systems such as DSM-5 and ICD-11. These are tending to be driven by the symptomatology that a physician can observe in the patient in front of them, and do not necessarily align with the underlying biological processes and mechanisms. We believe, therefore, that the consequence of this is that on occasions there are suboptimal disease classifications and patient stratification. And this, in turn, appears to be, in many cases, the reason for the low probability of success of the clinical development of new therapeutics, whether they be pharmacological, digital, or other forms of hybrid approach. And indeed, the historical lack of information and understanding of the biology of the diseases not only has hindered the clinical development of programs, but also the ideation of new therapeutic concepts and the early research and clinical development of novel therapeutics. Therefore, what we believe is a potential that is now gaining greater momentum within the academic, clinical, and industry side is to come at things from a more transdiagnostic or stratified base. So here we will be looking for homogeneous groups of patients with similar biologies. Now these may be transdiagnostic, i.e. crossing existing criteria that are defined within DSM, or they may be ways of stratifying within a criteria. But the principal value of this will be that we will be then thinking more about overarching symptom domains and their underlying neural circuitry and the processes irrespective of the conventional definitions that we have at hand at the moment. This holds the promise of being able to develop more meaningful markers of clinical benefit, of biological effect, the clinical endpoints, which in turn then we would hope would improve the probability of success, POS, of the clinical development and being able to reach the appropriate patient so that the right therapy gets to the right patient at the right time. This is a huge space, to be honest, and there is no way that one individual challenge can address that whole space. So the industry consortia that's put together this call has needed to focus on one specific area in order to make this a pragmatic and we hope deliverable project within the time and funding available. This focus on this occasion, we've taken down into the areas of reward and motivation and impulsivity, which for the sake of briefness, I will refer to as RM and I. These have been selected for the cortex for several reasons. We believe there is firstly a huge patient need in this space to have new ways that we can deal with it. But we also believe there's a degree of biological tractability in the sense that we believe we understand some of the basic biologies underlying these processes and certainly some of the neuroanatomy and neurostructural information. But because we're looking to see if we can move the way in that we understand the patients, this is also an area where we believe that there is potential for us to find common biologies, common circuitries, common approaches that not are limited just to one specific current symptomatic domain, but could spread across disease groups such as Alzheimer's disease, major depressive disorder, obesity, substance use, and you can see the rest of the list there. The list is not intended to be exclusive or inclusive, purely illustrative. If I can move to the next slide. Why do we need a public-private cross-sector collaboration? Well, first off, I have actually just said that this is a huge problem, and therefore the more resources, the more brain power, the more skill sets, the more expertise we can bring to bear on this, the better. And that's certainly why the industry consortium has already formed around this context. What are we going to try and do? We need to try and adopt a holistic transdiagnostic approach that enables us to focus the understanding on the RM and I symptom domains across these relevant areas. How are we suggesting we do this? Well, there'll be a number of different components that we hope that will be included within the program. We believe that we do need to build on existing federated data platforms to consolidate, curate, and link large, robust multimodal data sets for relevant patient populations so that we can identify the appropriate markers and develop the appropriate endpoints to test hypotheses that can be generated from this data set. Specifically addressing this concept of hypothesis generation, we do want to prospectively test new hypotheses that are either existing in the current academic space or can be developed out of the increased color and depth that we would build into the federated data platform. And these would focus on, but not limited to, dementia, depression, and obesity. What we would also like to be able to do is to foster the collaboration in a multi-stakeholder network, including with lived experience, carers, HCPs, providers, and you can see the rest of the list there. And this would then move us into a place where, in the spirit of a scientific experiment rather than a clinical trial, we can build data, we can test existing hypotheses, we can develop new hypotheses, but also leave a lasting legacy that enables us to grow these data sets as we go forward. And this enables the acquisition, harmonization, and collaboration at this scale across multiple disorder cases, as is shown in the capacity of a single organization to do. That's why we need the consortia. The IHI will provide an ideal model, we believe, for creating such an innovative and integrative approach as we move forward. Next slide, please. Now, I'll spend a little bit of time on this slide. There's a lot of information on it, but it gives you perhaps the clearest way that we've been able so far to graphically illustrate the conceptualization of what we're trying to do. So the topic aims at collecting a large amount of high quality multimodal data and biological samples. Now, we do ideally want to not be too restrictive in this regard. We do not want to have a pre-existing concept of what we think the answer is. We do want to move at this in terms of a spirit of scientific investigation. So therefore, we need a lot of data in this space and a lot of different types of data and a lot of expertise and understanding. And this not only will be scientific data, but would also come from historic and future clinical trials, real world evidence, etc. And I'll go into that a little bit more detail in a moment. These information can then be used for subsequent application for advanced analytics, modeling, simulation, to identify and subsequently test hypotheses for novel transdiagnostic markers and endpoints. And we would indeed hope that not only can we initiate work on existing information very quickly in this program, but also have the time and resources to then do iterative approaches on new hypotheses being derived from the data set. And this will require us to use a multi-stakeholder platform and enable us to prepare the healthcare systems for new concepts as we move forward. So I now move to the graphic on the right, and really this shows what we're trying. Go back, Elisabetta. The graphic on the right is really showing the multidimensionality of what we want to talk about. On the vertical axis, we have the domains of impulsivity and reward. What we want to do is populate the data space that is represented by that 3D image of the fact that we want to draw information in from neuropsychiatric patient groups. So examples would be depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder. We want to bring in information from those that have what are currently diagnosed as just as straightforward physical health issues such as obesity. And we want to draw in information from those that have problems with impulsivity, reward motivation from the neurodegenerative space. So Alzheimer's, Parkinson's as examples. And it's important that we have this multi-group area so that we get the transdiagnosis, but also get at the common biologies, but also the differences in the biologies. And then on the z-axis, running back into the depth of the page, you've got a set of examples of types of information that we would bring into that data set. Some of them will come from the industry consortia, others will exist in pre-existing databases that we are already have within the consortia, and others will come from the academic consortia and new information that we would collect through the various clinical trials that we will be performing. And we'd be very happy to come back and talk about some of the details on this slide in the question and answer session. Elisabetta, next slide, please. So this is a flow diagram of how we conceive one way that the consortia could operate. And as Elisabetta said, this is a two-stage process. So this is our conceptualization. There clearly will be ideas coming from the academic side, and then there needs to be an agreement in the second phase of the project development as to what the precise details are. So this is an exemplar. But here you can see in the middle of the box, we've got expanding existing EPND data platform. So through the Gates venture, we almost certainly will have access to the existing EPND data platform, which will have neurodegenerative data, but also will have neuropsychiatric data from other programs such as the IMI PRISM projects. So there already will be a certain amount of data. There will also be data coming in from the industry consortia into that box. Top left, you can see we would also initiate at the very beginning the testing of an existing novel hypothesis through a clinical study. So that's creating new de novo information very early on in the project, which would then move into that data platform to further color and create information in that space. In-depth analysis of the data that is already in EPND, the data sets that industry would put into it, and from the increasing amount of information that this particular project would be putting into that data platform, enable us to do in-depth data analysis, and from that in-depth data analysis, develop new additional hypotheses, which is the box middle right. They then go back into the iterative process that as we've got a new hypothesis, that enables us to initiate new clinical studies, which goes to the top left and back into the EPND. And as this is validated, this then in turn enables us to prepare the healthcare systems for these new concepts as we move forward. So therefore you get the output from the right-hand side of the post-project sustainability of a new way of thinking about patients in a transdiagnostic or stratified way with the appropriate biomarkers and ways that we can move forward in that space. Next slide, please. The expected outcomes of this study are quite numerous. We would hope there would be a sustainable and collaborative large data platform, as we've just described, that would enable us to identify transdiagnostic candidate markers and endpoints. This, we think, is important that it ranges across neuropsychiatric, neurodegenerative, and physical health disorders, not only because we believe there may be common biologies, but there are certainly comorbidities and there may be similarities in information in that space. The novel transdiagnostic candidate markers and endpoints would then in turn enable us to apply to drug discovery within industry organizations, academic organizations, and in turn, because they're based on better defined markers, increase the probability of success when the new therapeutics move forward. And indeed, it may even enable a new framework for existing therapeutics to be deployed more effectively. This is part of a clear roadmap to achieve validated candidate markers by regulatory and healthcare authority bodies, and we in turn would hope this would also improve clinical best practice guidelines as they are being developed by various different organizations. And then we could even make recommendations as to the ways that current diagnostic classifications can be revised and updated as we understand this precise medicine better. In turn, it also gives a greater understanding of the biological foundations of reward motivation and impulsivity symptom domains and their role in these various disorders, and whether or not there are stratificatable abilities and whether there may be a better understanding of comorbidities. A closer alignment between the psychiatry, neurological and physical health disciplines would also enable us to have a better dialogue between healthcare professionals, medical specialists, etc., as to how we can help those particular individuals with their complex healthcare needs and how they interact and affect their everyday lives and the challenges they face. Next slide, please. So the expected impact. There would be a data platform. We've ensured that there is going to be a fundamental starting point of that data platform, but we hope that the project would grow that, and a comprehensive, sustainable, data-driven health platform linking these behaviors and symptoms will be a primary output. Much needed refinements to the existing diagnostic framework and treatment paradigms would be facilitated, providing clear steps towards personalized healthcare for CNS-driven symptoms across the multiple various different medical domains that we've thought about. And models for other disease areas could then be driven out of this. Advancing the mechanistic understanding is also an area that we feel is hugely valuable. The clarification of the biological basis of a number of these CNS or brain-driven diagnostic symptoms. And this in turn would expedite the identification of novel and more effective precision therapies across the relevant disorders, boosting the competitiveness of European industry. And indeed, advancing the mechanistic understanding will also galvanize the innovation in the diagnostic space, bringing industry and various other components to play with ever greater enthusiasm. In other words, if we know where we're trying to go, it's much easier to encourage folk to go there with us and to fund it and to work in this new space. Next slide, please. Further to those pragmatic outcomes, this is an area where there still remains to be very significant stigma associated with a number of the disorders, and the outcomes of the patients is frankly not optimal at the moment and something we really need to do more about. A significant improvement in care quality and in health outcomes therefore has very specific benefit to individuals and their carers and their families. But it also enables healthcare innovations arising from improved understanding of the relationship between psychiatric, physical health, and the underlying biology, with far-reaching implications from patient health beyond psychiatry and neurology. And indeed, maybe I at this point can make the point that really this is a multimodal program that we're looking for. We're really looking for skill sets, expertise, capabilities right the way across the range. And therefore, it may be a little bit out of your comfort zone to be thinking that if you're somebody with a background in obesity, that you should be collaborating with people in psychiatry, or vice versa, somebody who's got a more neurological background might be thinking about working with somebody who's more associated with metabolic disorders. But we do know there is huge comorbidity here, and we believe there is fundamental basic biology that links all these together, and we can want to find innovative ways of doing that. In turn, this we think would then also help us reduce the stigma and provision of opportunities for early intervention in these places. So maybe, for instance, addressing obesity might actually, to a certain degree, reduce the problems in psychiatric or the neurological space, for instance. This in turn would then provide efficiencies in the healthcare system, allowing precision treatments to reduce avoidable waste in healthcare resources, leading to overall cost reduction, higher productivity and post-economic impact for the European healthcare systems. Overall, a transformational shift towards more integrated and personalised approach to healthcare would, we believe, not only help the patients across Europe, but also Europe as a whole. Now, I'm going to pass over to my colleague Torsten Laus, who's going to give you a little bit more information about the technical aspects of the call as it stands at the moment. Over to you, Torsten.
Thank you very much, Hugh, for providing background on the call, the challenge, scope, the expected impact. My name is Torsten Laus. I'm the designated project leader from Boehringer Ingelheim for this topic, and together with my colleagues from the other consortium members, I'm very much looking forward to collaborate on this very exciting topic. Talking about the other members, you see them listed here. The other members of the pre-identified industry consortium are AbbVie. We are leading this from Boehringer Ingelheim, and we have also a co-lead by Gates Ventures. Another member is IFAB, Novo Nordisk, and Roche is also on board. And in addition, we are also thrilled to have the Wellcome Trust as a contributing partner on board. And yeah, with this, I would like to also move to the next slide, which will show you what the industry, or what we as the consortium, the industry consortium, what we will contribute to this action. So first of all, we will provide the AD workbench as a facilitation of access to the already mentioned EP&D hub infrastructure, including the EP&D catalog, the database, so to say. Of course, we will provide the project leader. It's not on the slide, but that will be me. We will provide expertise and capabilities for data management, biostatistics, and data science. All of that is a very important element of this action. One of the activities described in the topic text is also early on a systematic literature review, and we will support this as well. A major contribution from the industry side will be the making multimodal data sets, and if possible also samples collected from historical clinical trials available, and feed them, help you to feed them basically into the database. And we would also, for our future prospective clinical trials, include data in the area of the RMI symptom domains. And this would be placebo data, and if a comparator is included, that would also mean comparator data. Another important element of this topic is, of course, the testing of these hypotheses, and this will be done in these mentioned clinical pilot studies. And for this, we would provide also clinical trial, translational, digital health, and medical expertise to help you set up the clinical protocol, also provide information, guidance, support in the areas of clinical operations, and also clinical and real-world data collection and analysis. We will also provide legal, ethics, compliance, and representativeness in research study design, so we'll provide that information as well. And we will also have our experts from regulatory, from HTA, assessment and reimbursement, and we will also provide expertise in the area of lived experience expertise. Finally, we will also contribute to the elaboration of educational and training programs for healthcare providers and people with lived experience and carers. Next slide. So that's basically, in broad terms, what we would provide. On the other side, what would be important contributions from the applicants is shown on this slide. And this is basically a little bit grouped according to the 4 objectives that we had specified in the topic text. As you already mentioned, it's a very, very broad approach. So we would need also experienced project management capability on the other side that together with me will help to basically run this multi-stakeholder multi-stakeholder and cross-sector project. Here, project management is really important in order to move this effectively forward and bring it to a successful end. Regarding the objectives 1, which is expanding the data platform, and objective 2, namely the analysis and the hypothesis generation, it would be important that the applicants have expertise in data platform and also the capability to leverage the AD workbench and to establish also an extended or adapted version of the EPND platform. It is also important to have expertise and capabilities in the area of data capture, data management, and analysis. And of course, also the ability to import, curate, and integrate the existing historical trial data and also the prospective data sets that we will provide into the data platform. Finally, an important element is, of course, also the analysis of this data, and here expertise and capabilities in data science to develop and apply advanced artificial intelligence supported analysis, ideally, modeling, simulation, bias mitigation, and to eventually conduct this multimodal analysis at scale to develop the hypothesis of new candidate markers and endpoints, which we would then, as described in objective number 3, then also try to test. And the next bullet point is basically relating to this objective 3, namely to test hypothesis. For this, it would be important that the applicant have expertise and capability to actually conduct these transdiagnostic pilot case studies. So applicants should have expertise in the RMI symptom domains and also in translational, digital, and clinical science, and also in the development and validation of new markers or endpoints. Secondly, there should be the ability to run the systematic literature review of potential transdiagnostic markers and endpoints to aid the hypothesis generation. And thirdly, of course, to design and conduct these mentioned pilot studies all the way to regulatory and ethics approval. It includes also operational aspects such as the ability to set up sites to ensure that we get sufficient patients into the trials in the focus areas of Alzheimer's disease, depression and obesity, but also others, and that we are also able to, in the end, collect and store the data and the samples, and to also measure in these clinical trials these parameters that were described in the topics text under section or activities 1.2. Finally, the last 4 bullet points relate to activities that are described in the objective 4, namely to prepare the healthcare system readiness. This is an activity that goes all through the project duration, so it's not at the very end. It is something that we will start with right at the beginning to make sure that we have all these stakeholders that play a role in the end in preparing the healthcare system for the outcome. So they should be, these activities should start also at the very beginning. And this means involvement of patients' advocacy groups, organizations as consortium members, the ability to also talk and interact with people with lived experiences, to prepare training programs and also educational materials for them, but then also to have expertise and the capability to interact with regulatory authorities, HTA bodies, payers, policymakers, medical societies, organizations of people with lived experience and patient advocacy groups in order to find a good way forward to pre-identify these hypotheses or these candidate markers and to, after the project is ended, to bring them hopefully as swiftly as possible into a clinical reality. Finally, access to regional healthcare centers with a center of excellence in these relevant disorders would also be helpful. This would potentially also accelerate the future clinical development and also the acceptance of potential results outcome of this topic. Next slide, please. Coming now to some key facts. that were already described in the topic text. So we have in the budget, on the budget side, a maximum financial contributions from the IHI of up to 20 million euros. There's also an indicative in-kind contribution from the industry in the area of roughly 14 million euros. And there's also an indicative in-kind and financial contributions from the contributing party, namely the Wellcome Trust, in the area of 6.4 million euros. Most of that, I think, is financial contributions. And I would like to point out that due to the global nature of the participating industry partners, it is anticipated that some elements of the contributions will be in-kind contributions, as I already mentioned, to operational activities, ICOP, from those countries that are neither part of the EU nor associated with the Horizon Europe program. In the terms of duration, the indicative duration of the whole action, the whole project, is 5 years, 60 months. However, this is also an indicative duration only at the already mentioned second stage. After the short proposals have been submitted, the consortium will basically, the predefined industry consortium may jointly agree on a different duration when the full proposal is being submitted. So this is an indicated duration, which should be the basis for the short proposals. But when the winner, so to say, is selected and we are in the full proposal phase, there can also be further discussions around the actual length. And with this, I can conclude my presentation and move to the very final slide, which basically just says that please don't contact us anymore after this webinar on this particular topic. If there are questions, please contact directly IHI, and I would like to thank you also on behalf of you for your kind attention so far. And I will pass it on now to Elisabetta.
Yes, thank you. And I hope that this has been clear for you, like it was very clear from our side. And I will give you a little bit of detail on what is the next step. That is the preparation of course, of the proposal, then the proposal submission, and the evaluation. So first of all, important to remember, important thing that in IHI topic, applicants are expected to submit proposals that address all the outcome and all the impact in the topic. Okay, it's not like other topic where the applicant can choose just one and focus on one. Here, applicants are expected to deliver the full package. Okay, so you need really to consider this is extremely important for your ability to success, as well as reading very carefully the topic text, where there is much more detail than what already very successfully Thorsten and Hugh managed to package in this webinar. But please read very carefully all detail in the topic text. That is the Bible. So now let's move it here. So just to talk about the technicality, when you want to submit your proposal, you have to consider that you will have to fill information in different parties. So you have a part A where you have to provide all your administrative data. And this is web form that you will be able to access through the portal. And then the part B, that is the real important part. That is the narrative part that includes the 3 sections: excellence, impact, quality, and efficiency of the implementation. All of these sections are equally important, and you have to be extremely careful to follow all the instructions in the proposal template very carefully. And remember that also this is a short proposal that will have to be further developed together with the industry consortium. Therefore, has to be all the highlight, but leave also the important space for the co-creation that will have to occur for the preparation of the full proposal. So if everything is already stuck in stone, as you can understand, there will be not space for this. So this is not what an excellent short proposal should be like. Okay, so very high level, important, all points covered, but remember this important aspect to consider very carefully the fact that this will have to be further developed, and also most importantly that as explained now by the colleague from Boehringer Ingelheim, they put quite a lot of substantial contribution of different expertise, different areas, etc., that you need to consider very carefully when you prepare your short proposal, because indeed this will have to match when the full proposal is developed in order to create a successful public-private partnership. There is also another annex that you have to fill, but that is very simple, where you will have simply to put the participant type that are included in the proposal. This proposal will all be evaluated by the panel of independent experts, which are experts that we will hire from IHI office, and that will have, of course, many different expertise to match and understand in depth the different angle of such a complex endeavor as the one that will have to be delivered via this topic, and will be evaluated following very specific criteria. The first one is the one of excellence. This is the science and technology excellence that is demonstrated by the short proposal. And of course, first of all, the proposal should be prepared in a clear way, because nobody likes to read something that is not clear. So it's very important that you read it very clearly. And of course, that you demonstrate the pertinence of the objective of your short proposal to the objective of the topic. And the extent to which the proposal work, of course, is ambitious and goes beyond state of the art. But saying that, of course, one has to be also considered in the time that need to be that is given for the execution of the program to get there, and also the available budget. And this will have to be for you, for the short proposal, is the budget that is under the IHI GU contribution, okay? And then, of course, last but not least, and this is extremely important, it is important that applicant will be able to express and demonstrate in the short proposal the soundness of the proposed methodology. That is really, you have all the methodological nuance well worked out in order to then deliver what you propose. And importantly, the next section is the impact, and there you will have to demonstrate also that what is as you expect to have as a result can be then transformed in the outcome that have been presented and eventually in long-term impact, and that you have also a good pathway in demand that you could propose to the industry consortium in order to get there. That means being able to engage with all the relevant stakeholders that are also in, you can see clearly in the topic text, in order to prepare this pathway and get to the final target. And clearly also to do it at scale. And because here is a very important topic, there are significant contribution. So we expect that on the other side, there will be also a significant scale of activity and expertise that we will leverage to get there. And last but not least, of course, we would like to see also in the short proposal the outline of the work plan that will be then to be further developed together with the industry consortium. And it has to be, as I say, a highlight of the, so there will be an outline of the work program, not with all the detail, not to the deliverable, let's say, detail of everything, but just a very, very clear and effective outline of this work plan. And also a demonstration of the capacity and role of each of the participants that are included in the short proposal, and extent to which the consortium as a whole bring together the necessary expertise. And please look carefully at again at the list that is in the topic text, because that's what our reviewer will look at, and will check simply point by point that each short proposal has all the necessary expertise as listed in the topic text. So what can I tell you as tips for you to prepare a good short proposal that will be selected as the winner? So that will be the one. First of all, again, read carefully all the material, read the topic text. First of all, as I say, it will be the Bible against which the expert will match each of the submission. But read also all the general other elements that can be useful for you to understand the framework in which this project will have to be acting. And it is take time to find all the right experts, especially as you said in this type of topic where maybe you have to go a little bit out of your comfort zone to find a partner from other areas where maybe before you had never think that you could collaborate. But here we are for IHI, we make people collaborate in a way that maybe they never did before. But please start as soon as possible because it takes time, and think always that you are going to create a public-private partnership with the industry consortium already formed. Please also ensure that all information requested in the call text and in the proposal template, where there are quite a lot of information for you and instruction to follow are provided. It is there to allow the evaluation expert to easily assess your proposal against the evaluation criteria. Again, it's much easier and much more seen favorably something that is clear, matching to the topic text and to the evaluation criteria. Remember also that, of course, there will be the important interaction also with regulator, and please consider that this, both in the composition of your consortium, in the preparation of the work program, and also have a good look to the guide that we already have on our website, and that could be very useful for you to read in preparation what could be the expectation of this type of activity. So clearly, finding a project partner is the most challenging part, and you need to build a joint consortium. So, and you have different tips and different type of instrument that you can use. There is a partnership tool in the funding and tender portal. Get in touch with your IHI national contact point, networks on social media, and that it is also something that will be extremely useful, and also using the IHI resources that we have available, like our portal for the for this interaction. And that's all I want to say. There is going to be some other calls. If you know anybody that's interested, of course, to participate to the other webinar, please address it to this new webinar. And I believe that now we are gone to the point where we will proceed for the question and answer.
Yes, thank you, Elisabetta. So now we can move on. I can see that we have some questions in, and I just want to emphasize the fact that this is your only chance to get the answer directly from the topic writers. As Thorsten said, I mean, apart from this webinar, you're not allowed to contact them directly. So we'll start with the first questions. Beside the data that already exists, do you also want to create real-world evidence data during the clinical trials, for example, with prompts or biomarkers?
If maybe I take that response. Yes, we hope there is existing data. There will be data that the industry consortia will bring to the table and incorporate into the database as we have from historical data, but also prospective data. But the key here within the call text is really for us to work out how we can get that information in prospective studies from this call. So yes, we would anticipate also that we would be looking at real world and various other forms of data collected within this project going into the database.
Thank you. The second one is, the call is asking to build on an existing federated healthcare database. In the image, we saw the EPND platform. Is it already decided that the existing federated healthcare platform has to be the EPND one?
This I will answer as carefully as I can, and I'm sure Elisabetta will guide me if I stray a little bit. But as I can see in the chat, people have noticed that the EPND is nominated as a data platform. It is an existing IMI project, which we anticipate by the time this project starts will have been completed. But please note from the list of the industry consortia that I'm very pleased to be sharing the leadership of this program with Gates Ventures, who are the principal funder behind the EPND network. So please be assured that yes, this will be the data network that we're using, but it's actually the data structure we're using rather than the EPND we are using. And indeed, I, for instance, have the pleasure to co-lead the PRISM program, and the PRISM data is being currently uploaded into that data platform. So by the time we use it, it will not be the EPND data platform. It will be one that will be in a wider space, but funded by Gates Ventures. Elisabetta or Carolina, are you comfortable with that as a response?
Yeah, I think that's all we can say. And it is important that you read again very carefully the topic text, because there are already quite a lot of information, public information that you can access on this platform. And please, again, read the topic text. So you have it in some footnotes and different point in the topic text.
Thank you. So we can take the next one. Can you please explain what you would like to see to reduce the stigma? Is the goal to get insight and new treatments to help people and family members?
I don't want to devalue this in any way, so I won't say that it is the primary goal. What we do believe is this would be a very, very strong deliverable. If we can find a better biological understanding for a number of these disorders, as in other areas of medicine, we find that this then helps us destigmatise these issues. So it is definitely an output that we hope will be very effective. That's also another reason why we are very keen to include patient groups in the consortia so that we can address these issues and work out how best to work in this more diplomatic, physiological, philosophical space as well as the biological space. So please, as Elisabetta has said many times, go back and look at the call text, but we do feel that this is an issue, but it's one that we need to work together with the caring organisations and the representatives of the sufferers, as well as the more academic and scientific side of it.
Thank you. And now we have another question. How many pilots do you prefer? Okay.
Again, go back to the call text. I'm sorry, this is going to be repetitive, but it's very, very important. Go to the call text. Our anticipation is that the best way of making this work with the time and money is if the consortia can outline a first pilot, so that day one we can start working on one of the data on a pilot. And within the call text, we've defined that we would prefer this to be across all of the dimensions that we're looking at. So therefore being able to call in information from patients suffering from a psychiatric disorder, call in information from patients with a neurodegenerative disorder, and call in patient data from those with a metabolic disorder. And we're picking as an example MDD, Alzheimer's and obesity. That pilot would need to be up and running quickly. So this enables me to reinforce also the point that Elisabetta was making, is that the scientific and technical capabilities need to be within the consortia. So for instance, having access to patient groups in all those three groups would enable you to tick all of the boxes that are within the call text. Likewise, if you were thinking about the multi-dimensional data space we're looking at, we would be very pleased that we would include brain imaging and neurophysiological data, for instance, and therefore, if you were going to collect data, let's say across three clinical sites, then you would need to make sure that you have the ability to do the appropriate scanning at all those three sites. So it's a matter of your expertise in terms of understanding the disorders, your ability to bring patients, your ability to bring the technical ability to assess those patients, and the ability to start that first pilot at the very, very beginning. We believe with the indicative 60 months, which as Elisabetta and Torsten have said, could be changed a little bit as we move into the second phase, but let's assume 60 months on the budget as it stands at the moment, that beyond that first pilot, there should be time and resource to look at a second, third, and possibly fourth pilot study. Now, those can either be driven from interrogation of the data sets, whether they be existing within the platform as it starts on day one, or maybe, let's say, a year or 18 months into the program, you can develop new hypotheses. We would then hope that those pilots would be executed at that point. But it would be part of the overall consortia's role to define and agree what those pilots would be. Further ideas within your initial proposal of projects 2, 3, 4 would be very gratefully received, because I think that will give the reviewers a better understanding of the scope and capabilities your consortia has.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is again on EPND. So the person says the project of EPND is still in process. Is all information open? Question mark. How are reviewers make sure the process will be equal?
I think I answered.
Or maybe I could take this one.
Yeah, I think I've answered a little bit, but I was actually going to, yes, pass it to you, Elisabetta, so that you can finish it.
Yeah. So I think that indeed APND is still a project ongoing. Nevertheless, the catalog is already available online for everybody to access. So the data that are there, and also many of their SOPs are publicly available for everybody to access and to use. And as also mentioned already, the GATE venture is currently working in creating an entity that will then be they will help to leverage for entry in this in the future project that will be funded by this call.
Thank you, Elisabetta. Now
There's
we have
also quite a lot of information on EPND out on the web, so
there is a lot of information.
On this, not only on EPND but also on the AD workbench. That I mentioned.
But just to say that the platform is really something that will be delivered from the side of the industry consortium.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now we have someone saying that they work with patient-derived cell lines, and they're asking, is this in scope?
I'm not going to rule anything out at this stage. As we say, we're looking for innovative ways of breaking the mold in this space. So if there's a way that you can weave in the understanding of patient-derived cell lines within the project proposal, please do. We don't rule anything out at this moment. We just want to leave the canvas as open for you to be as creative as possible.
Thank you. The next one is the same question. Would there be room for histology studies, or is it totally out of scope?
Same answer.
Yeah, thank you. Now, the last question I see is a loose interest group of multiple different universities, hospitals might be a good consortium partner in aiding scientific and technical expertise in recruiting patients, collecting, analyzing data, and for translation.
From my personal experience, this is probably about the only way it can be done, though I'm not sure whether was the adjective loose being used in there. I would guess loose is not a good adjective. I would hope that it would be a creative, dynamic, and close relationship between those institutions.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I will again encourage you to register for the 3 other webinars that we will have. So one will be tomorrow on topic 5, and we have 2 others on one on Monday morning and one on Monday afternoon for call 11. I don't see any more questions. I assume the presentation was clear enough. No, nothing is coming in. I think that we can close now this webinar. So I will say thank you very much to Elisabetta, Torsten, Hugh, and Carolina for this webinar. Thank you all for your interest, and I wish you good luck for your proposal. Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.